Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. Today, some people may want to call me a bit of a copycat, and I'm thinking I probably am today because that's exactly what I'm doing. I saw one of these reels on Second Chance Tackle over there with Dennis Kuntz, and I just really liked that reel and decided, hey, I'm going to go out on eBay and see if I can find one for myself. As for me, I'm going to try to fix this one. And I thought all I was going to have to do is clean it up like Dennis did on his, and we'd be in business. Well, this one's got a bit of an issue. If you look at it, it seems to function just fine. It spins around. Hey, that's beautiful. It's got drag. You can tighten the drag down to where it just holds everything. You can flip the lever. You got a nice free spool on it. The clicker works. I thought, hey, this is a really nice reel. And then as I was playing with it and handling it around, all of a sudden it did this and it froze. Okay, just like that, it's frozen. And I said, well, now what's wrong with this thing? And I played with it a little bit more, and the next thing you know, it's spinning nice and free again. And I said, well, what in the world is wrong with this thing? And when you lean it back over this way, it all of a sudden will catch and freeze up again. And so what I've come to conclude here is the spool here is a little loose. Okay, and as long as the spool is over here on the left side, like this thing will spin and spin and spin all day long. But if you turn it to where it's facing over this way, the spool will come down and it's jamming in here. And it's locking it up. So I'm not sure exactly what's causing this. We're going to take it apart, clean it, lubricate it, and see if we can find an issue. What I think could be an issue is when you look at the bearing over here, or bushing. This doesn't have a bearing, it has a bushing. When you look at this doesn't look like it's tight all the way, but I opened it up and I took these parts off right here. I took off the handle and the drag star, and I tried to tighten this down. Well, it's tightened down all the way as far as it will go. And what I'm thinking may be the case is that the insert inside there may have, let's say this thing took a hard drop or something. I'm thinking it's possible that the spool drove that insert out. Because if you look, it looks like there's a gap right here, but it's tightened down all the way. So what it may be is I may have to take that insert that's in there and drive it back down so that this can tighten down all the way. Because I think what's happening, I think the spool is actually just traveling too far over, and when that happens, it's jamming. If you tighten the adjuster down all the way, it locks this thing up solid. So that's what we've got. This, oh, by the way, this is a J.A.Coxe reel, and we are going to see what we can do with it. And I'd really like to take this thing out fishing, but as long as it's going to lock anytime I turn it to the right, that's going to be an issue. So we're going to have to see what we can do with it. So let's get started. I'm going to start off by removing the handle nut. Like so. Okay, then we're going to slide the handle off like this. There is a tensioner in here, and I believe the tensioner is actually installed backwards. Maybe not. Nope, it's on correct. Okay. Then we're going to remove the drag adjuster star handle. Okay, it's got that off. And now we're going to remove these 5 screws. Now, I took them off on the other side, and I imagine this side's going to be exactly the same. And what you're going to find is, I believe we're going to find a long screw here in this hole, a long screw in this hole, a short screw in this hole, long screw in this hole, and a long screw in this hole. The reason being is that center one doesn't go into one of these posts. It's sitting bare inside there. If you look down inside there, you'll see that it's bare, and it's holding that. We're going to go ahead and take this collar off that fits down in there. Okay, so let's take this one off first and see if I'm correct. See if it's a short one, which I believe it is. There it is. Okay, there's a short screw. And then when I take these other ones out, we're going to find that they are much longer than what the normal pin screws if you were just for a pin reel. Okay, see how much longer that screw is? All right, now we're going to lift this off. Okay, now it's dirty, but I don't see that being an issue. Okay, there's our eccentric, turning back and forth there. Okay. I wouldn't think that there was any way that this would lock this up. That's all the way down. It's not on. Put the sleeve back in. There. Okay, that should be good and tight. Now, when I turn this, okay. All right. I don't see what's causing it to bind. So, I think what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and take this completely apart, clean it, lubricate it, put it back together. It could be just something in there is gummed up causing it to bind. But let's do that and see how things go. All right, we're going to start off by taking off this metal ring, if it'll come off. I believe it will. Well, it doesn't want to, so we're going to leave it on. Don't want to force things. So, let's turn it over. Let's go ahead and take the star adjuster back off. And slide this out. Okay. Let's take these 4 screws out. Let's see if it's required to take off. Yeah, all 4 are going to have to come out in order to remove the jack plate. And probably what I should have done is gone over and reviewed Dennis's video prior to doing this, although he didn't have this problem that mine has. Okay, all 4 screws appear to be the same. All right, that's all 4 screws out. All right, slide this off. There's not much there. Certainly not much to it. Just needs to be cleaned up on that side. Okay. All right, well, one thing I am noticing is that this is an entirely different animal from the one that Dennis had. I believe his had a lot of springs and such in it, and this one doesn't seem to have any springs except this one right here. All right, so let's go ahead and take the main gear with the drag washers off. Okay, there we go. Here's the bottom one, which appears to be a leather drag washer. It's going to have a pin there holding this on, and it's probably going to need to come out as well. Okay. Does this want to come off to let me take that jack out? Okay. It does not. If you look right here, what you'll see is that this center post here holding this spring, Okay, slides down, it goes onto a washer, and then it goes through, and on the other side, it's riveted down. It is not made to come back off. Once they put that on there, they did not intend it for it to ever come back off. Now, this guy can come out, and we'll clean it up and scrub it and make sure that everything on there will flow freely. But the yoke on this one is not made to come off. All right, so it doesn't. We are, however, going to take out, if possible, this pin right here, which is holding on. Oh, that was easy enough. All right, slide that pin out over here, and let's slide this up and off. There's no washer up underneath it. Here is our anti-reverse dog, and it is also not made to ever come off, although the spring will come off. Look at how the spring is set, because it can come out and it will come out. We're going to take it off and set it over to the side and put it back just prior to putting all this back together. Okay, that spring comes out just like that. Okay. That was simple enough. Not much to it. Okay, we'll set that back. I'll show you how to set it back in. There's just not much going on here. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out. Take a look at it and see if it's possible for the sleeve, the insert, to have been driven back. And it really does not appear that that is the case. I don't believe that that's what's going on. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take this the rest of the way apart. And these two posts here fit inside the reel seat. We're going to take this apart so to make it easier to clean this up. And we're going to find that these screws are just as long as the other 5, or the other 4, in the same length. I'll set that one there. This is going to be a short post sitting inside here because it sits inside the reel seat. But the screw is going to be the same length. Okay, there's the screw. There's the post. See how much shorter the post is than the other one? Okay, I'm going to take out the center one. That's going to be the short screw. Okay, that gives us the reel seat off. And you can see how dirty that is. And it's going to be much easier to scrub that clean with it removed. There's our screw, and we've got one more reel seat, or one more post. Okay, and that's got that side off. And the only thing left there that can be taken off is the adjuster on the end, like so. Okay. All right, now this eccentric doesn't come off, so we're going to leave it alone. And we are down to me getting all these parts cleaned up. I'll be back in a moment. All right, while I was cleaning this, I did find one thing that could be causing the problem. Right here, there was a glob of hard grease or dirt that had packed in there and was keeping this from being able to go all the way in. It's possible that with that not being able to go all the way down into the slot here, that it was keeping it from going all the way. And I've still got more dirt and grime up inside there that I've got to clean out because it's still not able to go all the way down. So let me get the rest of that cleaned out. And when we put it back together, hopefully all that'll be gone and maybe to take care of the problem. We now have a table full of clean parts, and we're going to see if we can reassemble this back into an operational reel now. Okay, so let's start off with the clicker side plate, and we'll reinstall the adjustable fitting on that side. Now I've cleaned all this out real good. We're going to put a few drops of oil in there. Keep that flowing well. And then we're going to go ahead and screw this back in on this side. There we go. And don't screw it down too far, because if you do, what you may find is that you can't get it to go, get the spool to go all the way back in if you screw it down too far. You can save the adjustment for when you've got it all together and you want to adjust it. Okay, so we've got that to there. Let's go ahead and see about reassembling the base plate. And that's going to start off with this center screw, the short one. We're going to put it on like so. See if we can get it go in a little bit. There we go. Then we'll take our base plate, which cleaned up better. It's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. Let's go ahead and line up the hole with the screw with the hole, just enough to get it started. You don't want to over tighten it yet. Then notice that you've got two short rods over here and two long ones. Well, we want the short ones, and the short ones are going to fit inside in between the reel seat post or sides like so. And then we'll put a long screw through. And granted, you may not need to take yours this far apart. If you didn't, that's fine. This one had a lot of old corrosion on it I was trying to get off. There we go. Again, don't screw it all the way in. Take our other short post now, and it's going to go over here on the other side. And don't worry if this side pops out, because you'll be able to put it back in when you go to put the other side on. Line this one up. Get the screw aligned with the hole. And again, don't tighten it all the way down. Tighten it most of the way down. Just enough so that you can still maneuver it around a little bit. Now we've got these other two posts. And I find these are much easier to sit in place like that and then turn the post instead of the screw. Until you get it snugged up. Again, leave a little bit of looseness to help align it when you put the other side back. Okay, that part's ready. Now we've got our spool with our clicker. Let's go ahead and put some grease on the clicker. Put a little underneath it so that it can maneuver. Remember, it's got to be able to easily do this. Move back and forth like that. Once that's done, we're going to take the side with the clicker on it, and we're going to put a little bit of grease right here on the cog, not much, just a little bit. And I'll put just a dab of grease on the end, drop it in place, and there it sits. Like so. Now we're ready to reassemble the other side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our drag washer post, put some grease on it, and we're going to slide the drag washer sleeve on. And at this point, we're going to take this pin and slide it back through that hole, like so. Okay, with that done, now there's a drag washer on this side, and what we're going to do, let me get my drag washer grease. For these old leather drag washers, I use Cal's Universal Drag Reel Grease. I'm going to take and dip the drag washer in, work it around a little bit. Don't leave too much on it. Slide it down like so. And at that point, we're ready to install our main gear. We'll take the main gear, put some grease on the teeth. And this came out mostly dry, and that might have something to do with the binding it was doing. So I'm really hoping that once it's all back together, that binding on the right-hand side is going to go away. Now, before I slide this down, what I want to do is go ahead and take the pinion gear. Let's go ahead and grease it as well. And make sure to put some grease right here on the yoke, on the top and on the bottom where that pinion's going to ride. And then we're going to want to slide this back in. There we go. And get it hooked back on the yoke. Once that's done, take your main gear and slide it back down. Now this is going to activate and deactivate as we activate over here with the eccentric. Then it's time for our next drag washer. And we'll lubricate it. Slip it on to the post sleeve. Then we're going to take our keyed washer, and it's called a keyed washer because it's got this flat side on it. That's a keyway. And we're going to line that flat side up with the flat side that's on the shaft. Slide it in there. Do the next drag washer. I think these are leather. Not positive, but I believe they are. Okay. Move it up. Don't get over excessive with the grease. Slide it in. Now we're going to use our eared washer. It's this one here with the two little ears on it. And they're bent down slightly on one side. So that's the side that you're going to want to go down to make sure that it's grabbing hold inside. And those little ears are going to grab hold of these little grooves cut in the inside of the gear like that. Now we've got one more drag washer. Now we're going to lubricate up, slip on, like so, and that leaves us our last keyed washer. Slide it on. That's all back together the way it should be. Except one thing, and that's going to be this guy. This is our spring for our anti-reverse dog. And it's going to go in around behind. We're going to slide our anti-reverse dog around. See how it pivots around? We're going to slide that over like that. Hook this in behind it. And then if you're like me and have big colossal fingers instead of little fingers like people should have, you're going to grab hold of this with something and bring it over and drop it into that hole. So hook it behind it. Drop it down in the hole like that. There you go. And there is your anti-reverse dial installed. At this point, we're going to put this other bearing into the cap, or side plate. And see, it's actually got an offset there. That offset is what makes it stick out a little proud. I really thought that offset would go down inside, but it certainly doesn't seem to. So let's go ahead and screw that down. Like so. Okay. And before we insert this down into here, we want to take this lever and put it this way so that this is turned away from this plate. Now take and let's put a liberal dose of oil on this plate, like so. Okay, flip it over for a second, and let's put grease on these two ramps right here, one on each side. Now you don't need a whole ton of grease, just a little bit. And most of these brushes I'm doing are just to get the excess grease off. All right, that's set. And I believe that we are ready to set this back inside. Like so. But before we do, it's easier to do it now. Let's go ahead and put a couple drops of oil into the bearing. Now, drop this down in. Remember, this eccentric has to be over here this way, like that. And line everything up, and let's put our 4 screws back in. Make sure you've got all of them started before you tighten any of them down all the way. Okay. There's our eccentric. Now when our eccentric activates, it's going to push our pinion gear over against that gear. When it comes back, it's going to actually allow it to slide back and disengage. Like so. All right. That's all back together. Let's go ahead and set this back in. Before we do, let's go ahead and put some grease here where this is going to go in. And we're going to put just a little bit of grease on the tip right here. And that should allow all this to now go back together like it should, and hopefully function as it should. Okay, we're going to put our short screw in the middle, as we pointed out before. All right, now we're going to put this sleeve on. I'm going to reinstall the star adjuster. And again, I'm going to have to hold it gently from behind. This is a lot harder to do on this one because it only has one flat spot, so you have to be very careful not to damage the threads. Okay. I seem to have solved the problem. Let's see, when I tightened this all the way down yesterday to where the spool wouldn't shift back and forth, this would bind horribly. I have solved that problem. I've adjusted it too tight, and that's fine. There we go. All right. It no longer binds when you turn it to the right. So, I think that chunk of grease or dirt or whatever it was that was on that spool was actually the cause of the problem. It was keeping this spool from being able to fit all the way down to where it belonged, so that when it came over too far, it was causing everything to bind. It was forcing the pinion gear down too deep. And so that seems to have solved the problem. Okay, now the normal oiling points for this reel, there's one here. There's one here, much as the pins are. There's another one here. There's one here. And there's one here. Okay, those are the normal oiling points. So if you just really, this is a reel that you don't really have to take apart like I just did that often. Maybe once every 5 or 6 years, probably. As long as you take your oiler and you oil those points, that's really all you need to do with this reel. Let's check the clicker. So, thank you, Dennis Kuntz at Second Chance Tackle. You introduced me to a reel I had no knowledge of, didn't know anything about, and had never seen before. And now I have a J.A.Coxe of my own, and I've done a video on one, and so that I can move on to something else now. I believe I'm thinking about doing a short video on repairing this South Bend Spincast 77. And I gave this reel to my granddaughter. And what I have found is it is missing the little metal ring inside here that smooths this out and keeps her from cutting the line. So I'm thinking I might have a solution for that. I can't put another ring on there. I don't have the capability of that. But what I am thinking about doing is taking this out and putting it in my lathe and turning it and running it up with a rod inside, a steel rod, and reshaping this metal around to where it moves back over out of the way and can't catch on the fishing line. So if I do that, I'm going to show you guys how I did it. And hey, who knows, it might be successful. It might completely destroy it. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But right now, it's useless the way it is because it will cut the line. So anyway, I hope you like this video on the J.A.Coxe and or Coxe. Sorry, I keep calling it a Coates and it's a Coxe. C-O-X-E, J.A.Coxe. Or Coxe, not Coates. And I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, hey, that's cool. Hit the dislike button and tell me what it is you didn't like about it. And hopefully we'll pick up some more subscribers and be on our way. If you know anybody who you think would be interested in this video, hey, share it with them. In the meantime, this is Rick Stivers with YoungMartin'sReels signing out.